Imagine being out on the streets, doing your job with dignity, carrying someone's meal or package, just trying to survive another day. When someone, with power in their hands, decides you are nothing but dirt under their boots. This is not just a story about a biker who crossed a line. It is about a girl the world ignored, who carried herself with quiet strength until one day she was forced to unleash a side no one had ever seen. By the end of this story, you will ask yourself, how much does it take to break someone's silence, and what happens when the person you underestimated is stronger than the storm itself? Stay with me, because what started with a slap ended with a man curled up under his own bike, and a delivery girl proving she was far more than the world ever thought. The city was alive with noise that night. Neon lights flickered across cracked sidewalks, and motorbikes roared through the streets like wild animals marking their territory. Among all that chaos, Ayesha pedaled her old delivery cycle, balancing a heavy insulated bag strapped to her back. Her jacket was too thin for the cold, her shoes were worn at the heels, but her eyes carried something tougher than steel. She wasn't just delivering food. She was delivering hope to her mother, bedridden after a long illness, and to her younger brother, who had given up on dreams after dropping out of school to help. Every order she picked up meant medicine, rent, or maybe a little rice at home. At a roadside eatery, a gang of bikers had gathered, their leather jackets glistening with arrogance more than polish. They laughed too loudly, smoked too much, and treated the world like it belonged only to them. Among them was Salman, a man who ruled the group not by respect but by fear. His bike, a roaring black machine, gleamed under the streetlights like a beast waiting to devour anyone who crossed his path. He had one weakness: he couldn't stand to be ignored. Ayesha pulled up with her delivery order, parked her cycle at the corner, and double-checked the bag. She didn't look at them, she didn't have time. But to Salman, her silence felt like an insult. "Hey, delivery girl," he shouted, his voice carrying over the engines. His friends chuckled. Ayesha didn't answer. She had heard these kinds of calls 1,000 times before. She adjusted the straps of her bag and moved forward. Salman blocked her path, his heavy boots kicking the front wheel of her cycle. "When I call, you look up. Got it?" The other bikers laughed. Ayesha kept her voice steady. "Please move. I have work." That only enraged him. He slapped her across the face so hard that the sound silenced even the engines for a moment. The shock ran through her, not just in her cheek but in her soul. She staggered but didn't fall. The bag on her back shook, and the order inside nearly slipped out. She stood still, her head bowed. For years she had swallowed her anger, ignored insults, endured humiliation in silence because survival didn't allow confrontation. But something inside her cracked that night. The laughter around her, the burn on her cheek, and the memory of her brother saying, "One day, Appy, someone will push you too far." It all came rushing back. Salman smirked. "That's what I thought. Keep your head down. That's your place." But Ayesha raised her eyes. And for the first time, the gang saw a look they couldn't laugh at. A fire had awakened. Without a word, she set the delivery bag down, tightened her fists, and took one step closer to the biker who thought the streets belonged to him. The air shifted. The laughter died down. Salman tilted his head, confused for a moment, before sneering again. "What now? Gonna cry? Run away? Or maybe beg?" But Ayesha didn't move like a victim anymore. She had trained years ago, back when her father was still alive. He had been a martial arts instructor who believed his daughter should never feel weak in a world that tried to break women down. After his death, she had stopped training to focus on survival, but the muscle memory never truly left her. Salman reached out again, this time to shove her shoulder. That was his mistake. In one swift motion, Ayesha caught his wrist, twisted it behind his back, and drove her elbow into his ribs. The biker screamed, stunned by how quickly the tables had turned. His friends jumped up, but hesitation froze them in place. Salman tried to swing his other hand, but Ayesha ducked, swept his legs from under him, and he fell onto the hard pavement with a thud that echoed through the night. Gasps rose from the crowd that had started to gather. He scrambled to rise, but she was faster. One sharp kick to his chest pinned him against his own bike. The machine toppled with his weight, leaving him curled on the ground, gasping for air, his arrogance shattered. The gang looked at each other, unsure whether to jump in. But Ayesha stood tall, fists clenched, her face calm but burning with fury. "If any of you touch me again," she said clearly, "I won't hesitate to put you under your own bikes too." Silence. For the first time, the streets didn't belong to them. They belonged to her. Someone in the small crowd clapped softly. Then another joined. Soon, there was a ripple of support from strangers, shopkeepers, passers-by, other delivery riders who had always kept their heads down. Ayesha picked up her bag, slung it over her shoulder, and turned to leave. But before she did, she looked back at Salman, still curled up, humiliated. "You thought my silence was weakness," she said, her voice steady, "but you forgot silence can also be strength waiting for the right moment." That night, she finished her delivery. She still went home to her sick mother and tired brother, because her battles weren't just on the streets. They were inside the four walls of her home, where bills and responsibilities piled higher than any biker gang's arrogance. But something had changed. She walked in lighter, prouder, and her brother saw it immediately. "What happened?" he asked. "Nothing." She smiled faintly. "I just remembered who I am, Bam." The story of the delivery girl spread across the neighborhood. People whispered about the night she made a gang leader curl under his own bike. Some exaggerated it, some made it a legend, but for Ayesha it was simple. She had taken her dignity back, and sometimes that was the strongest message of all. So, when you walk away from this story, remember, never mistake someone's silence for weakness, because one day that silence might rise, and when it does, the world will never forget.